Today on the LA Food Podcast, I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, and while I don't have much, I have one thing Meghan Markle doesn't, a podcast on Spotify. On said podcast, dear listener, do we have an episode for you? Father Saul joins me to recap the latest and greatest in the food world, from the most recent iteration of the world's 50 best restaurants list to Netflix's foray into the pop-up dining world. The main course of the day, however, is discussing the 2023 LA Times Restaurant of the Year. This year's honors went to Holbox, Gilberto Cetina's seafood concept at Mercado la Paloma near USC, and while we definitely give them their flowers, our discussion today is more about what it means to be a Restaurant of the Year in the first place, what distinguishes this type of recognition from other big-time awards in the food world, and which LA restaurants we can see snagging the title in years to come. Finally, we're joined by our good friend Brian Lerner, who you might know on social media as Brian Eats. We're debuting a new segment with Brian in which we explore what to eat when you're on the road in different cities. Brian recently left our city of angels for San Jose, and he walks us through the eats you absolutely must check out next time you're up there on a business trip, family visit, or your annual pilgrimage to the alma mater of Joey Chestnut. That's right, dear listener, the greatest eater of all time went to San Jose State. Imagine that. Without further ado, let's chow down. Joining us today on the LA Food Podcast, it's a man that Bill Simmons once described as a, quote, fucking grifter. How you doing today, buddy? Father Saul.
Me and Meghan Markle, baby, were the grifters of the world in Bill Simmons' eyes. You know, he got in some trouble across the pond for this. People are mad.
Wait, they are? I've basically seen people just taking his side on this.
I think generally, yes. In America, 100% yes. In England, I heard there's a little bit of a anti-Bill Simmons sentiment, but he has enemies. It's no big deal.
He's got enemies. He sure does. Kind of like you.
Including me, for the record.
Your number one enemy right now is actually me, because I owe you a dinner to celebrate your Top Chef, your fantasy Top Chef win, and the people have voted. Do you want to know what they voted on? That should be your prize.
Let's hear this.
It's actually a visit to the LA Times 2023 Restaurant of the Year, Holbox, which we will get into in just a minute, but that's where I'm taking you, man.
Fuck yeah, I like it. This is good. When I texted you earlier that I like the idea of going to the LA Times Restaurant of the Year each year, because it's tradition, you know, rather than like picking and choosing each year like a random restaurant or Top Chef alum. We can stick to this as like the key concept for the prize, and then we have true tradition and know what's going on year over year.
The only issue with that, and we're going to get into this in just a minute, is that the LA Times does not seem very consistent with the month in which they drop the LA Times Restaurant of the Year. So it may not always coincide so cleanly with the Top Chef finale. Do you think that matters? That probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Well, think about it. I'm not coming down to LA next until August anyway. So it would be like, the timing would really matter on when we see each other, not when the awards announced. And also, Top Chef doesn't always land on a consistent month or whatever. So we can work out how the details actually follow through, but I don't think it matters that much.
You're not supposed to tell the listeners how infrequently you're coming to LA, okay?
That's a good point.
So, listeners, please forget you heard that, okay? He's in LA all the time and is super qualified to be the co-host of the LA Food Podcast, right, Father Saul?
Look at Griffith Park right outside my window. Fancy that. Love being in Los Feliz all the time.
Well, look, today's actually a perfect episode to have you on, because a lot of the stuff that we're going to cover actually has to do with things outside of Los Angeles. I didn't realize that when we started this podcast, 90% of our content was going to be about awards, but it just so happens that there are a lot of awards in the food world, and a few big ones dropped this week. First and foremost, we saw the world's 50 best list dropped. I think it dropped like a few days ago now. Interestingly, did you know that this is actually a list of 100 restaurants, not 50?
I actually did know that. It's a strange branding choice. I don't know why they do that, but I've like clicked through the 50 best list in the past and been like 65, number 65, weird. But yeah, that's their thing, I guess.
Yeah, so counting not the strong suit, but it's actually 100 restaurants. And another interesting tidbit that I picked up this time is that I didn't realize that for a few years now, they've had a rule that number one restaurants can't win twice. So actually, this is probably a list of 100 out of the like 107 best restaurants in the world. What
Right.
are your thoughts on that? The fact that number one restaurants can't win twice?
I think I both kind of like it, but I think they're missing something where they need to have like a Hall of Fame or an easily accessible like way to see past winners. Because I'm on the site right now, it's not super clear like the past winners, which means that you kind of like lose history on some of the prior folks, El Bulli, the French Laundry, Fat Duck, Noma. Like those are still like, as you said, among the very best restaurants in the world. If you completely kind of eliminate them from the list moving forward, which I think is cool. It forces diversity, it forces new champions, and continuing to like find new deserving winners at the top. And this is not a science anyway, right? So I like that there's a forcing mechanism for that, but I also think they should have relatively accessible like the Hall of Winners or something, or the list of prior winners, so you could be like, okay, yeah, these are like consistently great restaurants. I'm not like forgetting about Noma, even though it doesn't exist anymore, right? I think Noma closed, but
Yeah, Noma's close.
yeah. But whatever it is, I think that's a slight mistake they have here.
Yeah, I mean, you could be forgiven for looking at this list and just thinking like the French Laundry fell off in a big way, you know?
Right.
Which,
Exactly. With all the new restaurants coming into the fold, popping up all over the world, you'd want like some reference point. And I want them to keep reviewing it too.
yeah.
But is what it is.
Well, let's go through some of the winners, the awardees. So, the top restaurant in the world, according to the world's 50 best, the number one restaurant is Central in Lima. Now, I texted you this earlier this week, but how cucked do you feel that we went all the way to Lima from Los Angeles and did not visit Central?
I mean, I felt cucked in the moment on this one because I knew Central was I think widely regarded as the best restaurant in Lima when we went. We ended up going to Maido, which is the second highest rated restaurant in Lima on this list, and was an amazing dinner. By the way, Lima might be the most represented city. I didn't count it up, but there are a ton across all 100 restaurants. Ton of stuff in Lima. I think really overrepresented Lake Stanfield, so that's pretty cool. I honestly I don't overall don't feel that cooked. I think we tried. We might have like looked and it was not available to get a reservation. I had seen Central on probably Chef's Table or something like that, and thought it was really interesting. But we got a decent consolation prize in Maido, so I'm not too mad. Just a good excuse to go back.
Yeah, totally. Great excuse to go back to an awesome city. We did go to Maido, which actually came in at number 6 on this list. That's pretty good, man. We've been to the number 6 restaurant on this list. That ain't nothing.
We got a couple in like the top 20, top 30 that we've been to. I feel pretty proud of us. Yeah,
Yeah.
cannot be mad. Maido was dope.
So Maido, if I recall correctly, was sort of a really high-end encapsulation of the intersection between Peruvian and Japanese cooking, what they call Nikkei, right?
Yeah.
And I remember two things about that meal. I remember first that there was like rope in the decor of the restaurant, like rope coming
Huh.
down from the
Oh,
ceiling.
right. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah, that's like
Yeah,
one
that was
thing
cool. I like that.
that's always stuck with me. So like, in the event that you immediately regretted spending that much money on a meal, you could hang yourself. You could hang
Yeah.
yourself if you wanted. Secondly, I remember that the only dish I remember is a fish that they brought to our table that I think they called devilfish. And we had already ordered at this point, and they bring this massive, ugly catfish looking sucker to the table. And it's raw. It's like, uncooked. And they ask us, do we want it?
Because it was one of those things like, when a steakhouse, like trolleys, all it's like raw steak cuts, and you're like, oh, I want the T-bone, and then they go cook the T-bone for you. That's what it was like. And it was a special for that evening. Fresh caught devilfish. It was like a scorpion fish. It looked disgusting, like a
Gross.
flabby, wet, gray mess. But we're like, fuck it, if they're gonna cook this fresh, we might as well eat it. And then our buddy Dietrich looks up and he goes, like, really real concern, like in his voice, how do we eat that? Which was a fair question. A fair question, not when you are not assuming that they're gonna actually cook the fish for you. He just thought this like slobby mess was gonna be put on the table in front of us. So fair concern, good question, and boy did they cook it beautifully in the end. So no concern.
Yeah, it was one of those questions that was so dumb in the moment that
Yeah.
it was just but also so earnest that we all paused and were like, "Wait, is he serious? Does he mean this? Because if so, like, we're gonna have to have a serious conversation here." Yeah, good old Dietrich. Shout out Dietrich.
Good old days. I
Um,
remember briefly almost responding to him like with a fork, like just confused as what he was asking. I like thought he was confused about the actual eating process after it was cooked, and I was like, I think it's pretty straightforward. But he was like more concerned about the I might have to force feed myself disgusting raw food.
hey, maybe he thought it was like sashimi. We did have like other crudos
Look,
in the course
we
of
were
that
in a
dish.
new country, man. Yeah, that's true. A lot of crudo, a lot of ceviche in Peru. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, they're just taking the crudo to a whole new level. They're just giving you the whole ass fish.
The only time I'd seen fear in Dietrich's eyes.
Yeah. So the other restaurants we've been to on the top 50 list are Mexico City based restaurants. They are Quintanil, Puyol, and Rosetta. I mean, the
Hmm.
thing that really jumped out to me here, and these have all been on the list before, I believe. Maybe Rosetta hasn't. No, actually, I think Rosetta has. The thing that jumped out to me here is that typically Puyol is the highest rated of the three.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, Quintanil actually jumped over Puyol. Quintanil was at like number 9 and Puyol was at number 13. Last year, Puyol was number 9 and Quintanil was number 27. So, pretty cool story of a restaurant that was started actually by someone who used to work at Puyol, kind
Yep.
of like, becoming the master, if you will.
Yeah, and I remember when we went to Mexico City and tried Quintonil and Puyol sort of back to back, and maybe on our first trip, we kind of walked away being more impressed with Quintonil, if I'm not mistaken. There was like kind of cooler ideas, fresher, more modern versus, I mean, something that makes Puyol so special is like going back to indigenous ingredients and preparing them in unique ways. So no, I mean, certainly deserving. I imagine, and I also when these big changes happen on these lists that are going to basically it's a pretty consistent set of restaurant year over year. I think the top 30, there's probably what, maybe only 20-30% turnover. Like over 50% of the restaurants that are near the top are kind of the same, I think, over and over again.
Yeah.
And I do wonder like what the judges here and what the panel here is seeing on a year to year basis and how they assess differences over a year is not that much time. Like, is there a
No.
fresh new menu and a new dish, new concept that Quintonil is doing, or do they feel maybe Puyol has like plateaued a little bit? I'm wondering what the year over year difference is. What's informing that?
I have a bold prediction that I think that Puyol will continue to decrease on the list.
Mm,
We went back in 2016 or 2017, and I went back last year, and I do think that the meal doesn't quite hit the same, at least
right.
not for me. I think that in terms of some of their most like iconic dishes like the mole or their like baby corn and the ant
Yeah.
mayonnaise and whatnot, it's starting to feel less and less unique in
Yeah.
that like I just think that there are lots of other restaurants that have sort of taken the inspiration from what Enrique Olvera has done there and have just continued to innovate and do more and more interesting things. And I think that may be one of the driving factors behind Quintanil actually going up and above Puyol is that I didn't get a chance to go back to Quintanil last year. But even when we went back in 2017, there was this sense there of like excitement and innovation and like happening, like, you know what I mean? And I just feel like maybe Puyol's star is a little on the decline.
It's possible. I think that makes sense, and I think there are two other potential factors here. One, Enrique Olvera, since we went, has now expanded his restaurant empire internationally into the U.S. Right, so his
Yeah.
time is a bit split from Puyol and other projects, and I kind of wonder if the fame of Puyol and its feature on Netflix and the rising star of Enrique actually works against it in terms of innovating because the menu is like almost exactly the same as what we saw, really close,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I wonder it's partly because diners want to see the hits. Diners saw the moles on Netflix, saw the baby corn on Netflix, and they want to keep like that's what they want to go eat, and they'd be disappointed if they didn't have it. So it's almost as if Puyol is like his old standby, like it's like his greatest hits album a little bit, But then his next act, Olvera, will be in his other projects, maybe where he might have more room to tinker and innovate. Although those restaurants, while having some recognition of the LA landscape, I don't think have really expanded beyond that.
You say that, but I'm pretty sure he has another restaurant on this list. So he's
Really
doing all
well.
right. Yeah.
There you
So
go. There you go.
it leads to my next point, which is recognition of American restaurants, aka restaurants that are in America. There
Right.
aren't too many on it, honestly. First of all, there
Yep.
are no Los Angeles restaurants, so there we go. There is one San Francisco restaurant, one restaurant in Healdsburg, California, and those are the only two California representatives. And the other ones are in New York. One of the restaurants in New York is Cosme, which I believe is Enrico Olvera's New York restaurant. So
I see.
in terms of how his other restaurants are doing, I think he's going to be just fine. But to your point, maybe that's taking some of the shine off of Puyol in terms of what these types of lists look for.
So it's interesting to me. When we talk about awards, and we've talked about them in the past with like James Beard and so on. We've really one of the things we've continually gone back to is the fact that the scope of these awards historically has been pretty limited, right? And like, for example, your Moose Craft neighborhood barbecue does not get considered at the same level as your La Bernardin, right? Because there's a very specific idea of what high-end dining, what fine dining is. And what stands out about the world's 50 best list, as James Beard has, I think, tried very hard to expand its purview, and even Michelin has, right? That was the other one. Michelin, I think, is trying pretty hard to like recognize all forms of great food in all environments. 50 best is like fine dining, classic fine dining. A lot of the dishes, if you like scroll through the list, they have like a single dish sort of like pictured from each restaurant or like an interior. It kind of blends together. It's kind of like, hey, everyone's learned across the world how to speak this language of fine dining and translate their food into it. But there's an expectation of a certain look, feel, experience. I don't know if that's a bad thing for one award to be like handling that mantle. I think it might give space to the others to be like, well, let's find the Moose Crafts and the Holboxes and so on. Holbox, is that what you said?
They pronounce it Holbox, actually.
Holbox.
It's
Okay.
named after an island in the Yucatan. So, I'm not just making that up. But if you want to pronounce it Holbox, we'll allow it.
Okay. This would be a great bit if you're lying to me, but Holbox, right? would now I mean recognized by I think also Michelin as well, right? So this is something I noted going through the list. And as you look at the American restaurants, right? They're restaurants that I would be happy to go visit and try, but it's a very specific flavor of restaurant in America that I actually don't think really captures the imagination of most, even day-to-day like foodies, quote unquote, people who are interested in like eating good food. Sure, maybe someone wants to try Cosme. I wouldn't blame them. I want to try it. But I think most people in the US, most people like millennial and Gen Z are more interested in the great neighborhood spot that kind of surprises and exceeds expectations rather than the person who's doing fine dining the best.
I mean, if we went off of only this list, we would never eat in Los Angeles because there's there's no place in Los Angeles that is on this list. And honestly, I was racking my brain to think of which restaurants in Los Angeles could potentially aspire to be on this list. And it's a very, very short list, in my opinion.
Yeah. What, Providence? Maybe like a couple, like it's that vein, right?
Yeah.
Your Santa Monica's and your Malibus.
I think it's like Providence, Inaka, maybe.
Yeah.
There a couple slightly newer tasting menus, which are very beloved, which could maybe, if they continue sort of like rising, like Hayato and Kato and places like that, if they continue to sort of elevate and make headlines and grab attention, I could see them coming in with like a shout. But we have 3 Michelin restaurants in Southern California, like the place in San Diego area whose name is escaping me, Addison, I want to say, something like that. They're not even on this list. They're a 3 Michelin star restaurant here in Southern California. Like, it's incredibly hard to make this list.
Yeah, incredibly. And part of the reason is, look, you can theoretically, they can award as many 3 Michelin stars as they want and as many 2 Michelin stars as they want. James Beard is obviously limited to some extent, but it's also geographically limited to the U.S. to have a list of saying, hey, we're only choosing 100 restaurants across the world, like that seems like such an impossible task. And to rank restaurants in this way, right? Like having a criteria like Michelin makes much more sense to me, being like, okay, these are the standards, right? And like whoever hits the standards hits the standard. Whereas just say like, hey, you're number 1 and you're number 2, or you're number 5, or you're 6 or 19. I don't know. How does that work?
Yeah. I mean, I would kill to see their rubric. It would be super interesting to see how they go about actually evaluating this. But yeah, I mean, I have to say, I don't really put that much stock into this list. Yes, if we're going to a city like Lima or Mexico City and whatnot, where there are a relatively large sampling of restaurants on this list there in that city, yeah, you bet your bottom dollar we're going to go visit them because we don't have any in Los Angeles. But I pretty much know before we're going there that those aren't going to be my favorite meals, like,
Right.
and I'm not saying
right.
like I'm one of those people that's like, oh, it's got to be from the street. I've got to like be able to get a stomach bug off of it or else I'm not going to be happy. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like there are other places like Casa Virginia, right? Or like places that are sort of a little middle of the road, if you will, in terms of like fanciness, that where the meals are just going to stick in my head a little bit more, right? They're going to impress me a little bit more. And maybe it's just because we're not refined. Maybe we're just basic bitches.
Well, maybe not. That could very well be true. But also, I remember literally our first trip to Mexico City when we tried Puyol tasting menu for the first time, and it was great. We kind of left being like, hold on, was the pastor taco we ate under a highway better than that? I think it was. I think it might have been. And then it was like, or like that's the meal we would go back to. So I mean, look, it's like as you said, it's a nice little compass when we're traveling internationally. I don't use this list to identify restaurants I want to visit in the U.S. at all, but it's kind of a fun. It's almost a novelty. It's like a novelty exercise to go visit these restaurants, right? To be like, we went to 4 of the top 20 restaurants in the world. Cool, good. I mean, and look, they've all been good meals. Obviously, like they've all been a good time.
It's a notch on the belt.
That will be the core memory of a trip.
Totally. I hear you, man. Well, quick last point on this is that there was a Top Chef shout in that our boy Kwame got the 2023 One to Watch award.
Very cool. What I've noticed actually, what this made me think, dude, Top Chef is everywhere. We're in this big Top Chef year, obviously season 20, World All Stars. We've gone over it ad nauseum, but like I was watching the next Iron Chef or Iron Chef Gauntlet on Netflix. Gregory Gourdet, Mei Lin, Jeremy from season 13, California winner, like fucking Tournament of Champions. Half the people I saw Joe Sasto and Shota go up against each other. Like these guys are everywhere, and it's pretty freaking cool. Kwame, a decade after his Top Chef appearance is like a one to watch on the world's 50. I mean, I don't think I realized just how much of a talent pipeline Top Chef truly is, and it's really cool to see.
But you say that, and like, it's absolutely true. Top Chef, talent pipeline, Top Chef Mafia, we stan, absolutely. But if you think that from being on Top Chef to becoming the world's 50 one to watch, that's not even like the cemented ass chef. That's like chefs of the future. There's been 10 years of work between when he was on Top Chef and when he got this nod, right? Like that's an eternity in a career to then be named like one to watch.
It is. And I think when he joined Top Chef, he was like 25 years old or something. He was really young, 25, 26, a very young contestant. But I mean, look, credit to Top Chef to like identify a one to watch before the world catches up to him being the one to watch. And of course, the growth and accomplishment that has to happen in those 10 years for Kwame to be there is true and awesome. But like, it's really just like, I don't know, it speaks to the casting, shout out Donine. It speaks to the judging, shout out Tom and Gail and Padma, R.I.P. JK. But like it's just fun to like have such an affinity for a show and a competition show that we've talked about so much, and then to realize, I mean, its influence in the U.S., right, and its influence like here, but both between the World All Stars and seeing Kwame's name on this list, it's like this show somehow these people are like really the most influential across the landscape for food. I mean, particularly in America, I should say, but more broadly in Kwame's case.
Yeah. Look, enough on the world's 50 best. We'll revisit it next year, or maybe if we get a chance to go to one of these restaurants between now and
Sure.
then. But I wanted to quickly pivot to an even stupider rating, which is the fact that the Infatuation this week visited a restaurant we love. It's Diego Argotti's Poltergeist, and they gave it a 6.9. I don't think, I mean, if you're looking at school grades, that's what, a D plus, right?
Yep.
I love the Infatuation. Shout out Brant, but are they on crack?
Yeah, or should they be on crack to better assess Diego's food based on what we know of his story? Now, look, what bothered me about this, something I want to do, which I didn't get a chance to do, is to go and look at like other 6.9 or so, like low 7 rated restaurants that the Infatuation has in LA, because as Bram noted, it's tough to get up there, right? It like they are like pretty picky with who they reward. But what bothered me a little bit was they fairly pointed out, like, for example, that one of the desserts they had didn't work, this Pop Rocks dessert, and like that the crazy mixtures, like in that case, didn't land. But something that Brant said that stood out to me, and shout out Brant, we love Brant. He was like, what we want to assess is how well is the restaurant doing at what it purports to do, right? And Poltergeist is a pop-up concept from one that was famous, like mixed. Or is it not? Is it? Wait, what?
Yeah, Diego actually got upset that you called it a pop-up on the last podcast, so apologies, Diego. It's not a...
You told me it was a pop-up when we went. I am fully advocating blame for this. Diego, I'm so sorry, man. I was giving false information.
not a pop-up. It's a concept. It's the new food concept that lives inside Button Mash. So
got it. It's like Falling Starry Night and the other stuff. Okay, got it.
I'm
look at us like we're passionately defending it. Have no idea what it is. No, but back to the point. So Poltergeist is in a barcade, like wacky, like weird Michael Jackson games and Pop Shot, trying all sorts of crazy combinations that capture like the landscape and have like lineages from like Bestia to Bavel, some of the best restaurants in LA, with Diego's mind like coming up with the combinations. And sure, not all of them will work, but isn't it doing exactly what it promises in some way, right? And so I would imagine if I was in the Infatuation's room, writer's room, whatever it is, I'd be bumping this up like closer to an 8+, right? As we said, our ideal restaurant for an LA experience.
That is exactly what stood out to me too. It's that point about how much did they understand and achieve the assignment. And when it comes to achieving the assignment, you just laid out the case perfectly. It deserves way more than a 6.9. You can take issue with certain dishes. Pop Rocks and dessert may not work. I'll grant you that. We didn't actually have that one, so we can't really speak to it. But if you're looking at the other dishes, and again, conceptually for the space and what it's trying to do, I think it's one of the best restaurants in Los Angeles right now. So, look, we can disagree without being disagreeable, but fuck you, Infatuation. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. Right, I think. By the way, Poltergeist is going to come back around this conversation. You'll see exactly what we're talking about, or what I'm thinking of when we speak to some LA awards later in this podcast.
I think we might be on the same page here, but before we move on to part 2, I wanted to quickly bring up that Netflix is pivoting during the writer's strike. It's like showbiz. No, not for us anymore. They're moving to a notoriously safe business, which is the restaurant business. They're opening a pop-up called Netflix Bites. It's on Fairfax near the Grove. I think it's opening up on June 30th. And what it is, it's a special menu made by their culinary all-stars, Dominique Crenn from Chef's Table, Nadia Hussein from Nadia Bakes, and Kim from Chef's Table Pizza, blah, 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 blah. I think this is really cool, but I wanted to pitch you on something. I came up with some other concepts that I think would make this idea even better. Are you ready for it?
Let's hear this.
So Netflix has a treasure trove of intellectual property. Why not? Right now they're doing the obvious thing, which is taking the chefs, right, from their cooking shows and doing meals that are created by them. What if instead you just took the intellectual property and used that as an inspiration for an experiential dinner? Okay. First pitch. Orange is the New Black dinner, which consists of recreations of very accurate recreations of prison food.
I'm sure it would sell. I mean, this whole concept is going to sell. I want to hear all the ideas you have for different IP, but I think I would not be surprised in the least if they go that direction. Look, I'm not eating the Orange is New Black prison food. I didn't watch the show. Didn't seem all that interesting to me. No disrespect, and don't eat prison food. But I know you'd be in there with bells on. So hey,
I'd be lined up asking for my shit on a shingle and asking for seconds. Second idea, Love is Blind dinner, a blind tasting of foods. Come on, that's an easy one.
That's an easy one. I agree. Yeah, why not? Blind tasting. You wouldn't, but you don't have any particular cuisine in mind. That doesn't quite work. I mean, what? You could like, this last season was in Seattle. You could do some like oysters and I don't know, fish and chips, whatever we eat here.
No, I think maybe it would be like, the gimmick could be like, the diners have to like blindly choose which dish wins. And that's like, that's the soulmate of the evening or something like that. Right. So look, we're a fountain of creative ideas here. So I'm sure we can figure out some way to make this related. A Bridgerton themed royal feast consisting only of aphrodisiacs.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What are the aphrodisiac foods aside from oysters? What is there?
Just a shit ton of oysters, bro. Just like a bunch of oysters. Yeah.
Oysters and chocolate. Sounds pretty gross, but hey, I'm sure people are down. Some sad people at Netflix. By the way, shout out to Netflix for seeing how easy it is to commit wage theft in the restaurant industry and being like, we want in. Let's do this. Yeah, we can't cheat our writers. Let's find some new staff to steal from.
Yeah, there's no waiters union yet, so they can't strike. Okay, my final idea, which is my favorite idea, it's a beef-themed dinner prepared by two chefs who frickin' hate each other.
This is the one. I'm going to. I love that.
I did some research for famous chef feuds. We should do a whole episode on epic chef feuds. You won't be surprised. You probably won't be surprised to learn that Gordon Ramsay is at the center of quite a few of them. But my favorite one was Tyler Florence and Andrew Zimmern. Do you know who they are?
I know Andrew Zimmern. Who's Tyler Florence?
So Andrew Zimmern is the Bizarre Foods guy. Tyler Florence was like a really like sexy celebrity chef in the 90s or early 2000s. And, he's kind of just like, he was one of those like hot guys cooking on the Food Network, right? So
got it.
Their beef stems from an appearance they made on a Ryan Seacrest show a while ago. And Andrew Zimmern really took issue with like how Tyler Florence like behaved on set. And he posted a blog on the subject. And after reading the blog, Tyler Florence like hit back at him, calling Zimmern the guy who eats dried camel cock for a living.
Okay. Based on that 2-second summary, I'm team Zimmern, not because of the camel cock. I want to be very clear. That's a great burn by Tyler. But Zimmern seems, first of all, like a cool guy. Bizarre Foods was a dope show. And by the way, we should be eating more offal or whatever that he would eat. I think that was an important show for like food in general. And Tyler seems like kind of a dick just based on his picture. So team Zimmern, although shout out to Tyler for a pretty good fucking comeback.
I'm with you. Okay, Netflix, if you're listening, we're here. As we've said before, we can be bought. So our DMs are open. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we're back, we're talking about the LA Times Restaurant of the Year. Last week, the LA Times announced its Restaurant of the Year for 2023. It gave the award to Holbox, a Yucatecan seafood concept that operates at Mercado la Paloma down near USC. Saul, when you think of Restaurant of the Year, what comes to mind?
You know what? Jonathan Gold comes to mind. I was trying to figure out what really it was, and that's the first association just from his list, and just like from being excited to open up his list, see what's number one, which I know wasn't like necessarily I don't know if it was like awarded Restaurant of the Year necessarily, but that's the very first thing that comes to mind is who's the top of the top in Los Angeles specifically, because that's when I first became familiar with the idea of a food award.
And when you think of who should win a Restaurant of the Year,
Mhm.
Like what criteria would you be looking for?
Ironic. Oh, so one of them is that the restaurant is fresh to that year, right? And that can be kind of like wavy, right? Because you can have like a new restaurant of the year, but a restaurant of the year I think should be relatively fresh, right? It should not be more than like 10 years old or like even 5 years old. I'd say it needs to be like relatively new to the landscape and maybe had a few years to like grow and it's like figure itself out a little bit. So I want it to be relatively new. It should be innovative. It should say have a new perspective. Should say something new about the landscape it's in. Like if there was like a Providence Two like restaurant, right? It's a great restaurant. It could be like top 10 in LA, but I wouldn't give it a restaurant of the year. I'd want something that's like really speaking to some new ideas about the city, maybe a new young chef, something surprising and that maybe is like reshaping the landscape a little bit.
Okay, so I was asking myself this exact same question and was coming up with a lot of these same thoughts that you had. So I did a little research and I tried to find out, is there anywhere where they list what this award actually means, right?
Hmm.
So there is actually an article back from 2017, which I think was when this award was initially awarded. Jonathan Gold gave it to Local. Do you remember Local? It was Roy Choi's like fast food
Yeah.
concept that opened in Watts, which was meant
Yeah.
to like, give jobs to people in the community and spark revitalization. There are things that Jonathan Gold listed in that article that were his considerations for what this award means. So he said, and I'm quoting here, right? There are many factors to consider in choosing the Los Angeles Times restaurant of the year. An ideal candidate has delicious food, that's a given, but also a sense of purpose, a place within its community, and the ability to drive the conversation forward, not just in Los Angeles, but around the world. Its chefs should honor diversity, but not at the expense of focus, health, but not at the expense of flavor, and sustainability, but not at the expense of complexity. It should feel like LA. That's that's a pretty like definitive rubric, right? He breaks it down into basically 5 categories: sense of purpose, place within community, ability to drive the conversation forward in LA and beyond, and honoring diversity, health, and sustainability. And finally, it should feel like LA, which is probably the most amorphous one. But if you eat in LA and you love LA food, you kind of have a feeling for what that means. So that sounds kind of like what you listed out too, right?
I think so. He got more specific with it, especially with the criteria to specific to LA, right? I will also say the only place where I might be like this isn't criteria for me is honoring health and sustainability. It's those are nice to haves. I don't need my chef to honor health, really. And in what ways? Sustainability, obviously, nice to recognize, and diversity, I think, is naturally would be recognized in capturing LA. Right? It should feel like LA. To me, that means in some ways it should reflect the diversity of the city and capture and reflect it in real ways. So, and also, we are awarding a restaurant, not a chef, right? Which is
Yeah.
a conversation we had before. So that might be the only thing I'm like, I maybe it's more like what the overall restaurant represents, which should capture those things, which may capture those things. But the rest of it, in terms of like sense of purpose and a perspective, really is what I hear there. Place within community, right? Saying something new about the landscape, and feeling like LA, and being innovative and driving the food scene forward, and i.e. being new and fresh, not something like 10 to 20 years old. Yeah, I think there are some overlaps with it, with the way me and Jay Gold think, which is classic us.
Yeah, it's a given. It's a given. Uh, Going by that criteria and all these factors, I think that the case that Bill Addison made in his review of Holbox and his sort of like reasoning for why he gave this award to Holbox, it's very persuasive. The things that he said about why they should be getting this award this year. So their mission is to showcase Yucatecan seafood. That's how they opened, but really it's evolved into a restaurant that showcases the diversity of all of the ways that Mexico does seafood, and that really is reflected in Los Angeles. Like when we think of mariscos and like seafood preparations in Los Angeles, it's really this sort of like cauldron, like melting pot of all of these different styles around Mexico. There's like Sinaloan ceviches, Baja fish tacos, Yucatecan preparations. So in that sense, it really does, to use Bill's words, convey something essential about the pluralism of Los Angeles. Secondly, he talks about it being delicious. He talks about their signature dishes, blah, blah, blah. And finally, he also talks about the sort of like interesting place in the community that it filled, especially during the pandemic, doing these sort of like outdoor lunches that brought people together and whatnot, and really sort of like becoming this place that said something about Los Angeles. And also the fact that it's at this Mercado la Paloma, which is a very like community driven food hall. It's not even like a sit down restaurant. It's really a stand, you know, at this food hall. That's very Los Angeles, and that's very purpose, right?
Yeah.
In that sense, I think that that's a really like compelling case for why it should win Restaurant of the Year. The one thing is, it did open in 2017. That's like 8 years ago? 6 years ago. Do you think that
6 years ago? Good math, buddy.
That's why I'm doing this podcast and not a billionaire. But what do you think about that? Is 6 years too old to qualify for this award?
I mean, again, I don't know what the perfect year amount is, but not necessarily, especially with COVID in between, I'll say, right? Because with COVID in between, it's almost like maybe a 4-year-old or 5-year-old restaurant. And of course, during COVID, as you mentioned, they like transformed in a way that was very interesting. No, I think restaurants require a couple of years to find themselves, to become meaningful in a community and like really find their footing. I think, for example, if you look back to last year's Restaurant Year Award winner, Anajac, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a restaurant that was 20 years old and then transformed itself in over the course of maybe that year or over maybe a year slightly plus. And then captured all these same ideas. So I don't know what the perfect year is for the restaurant. To me, it's kind of like going back to that World's 50 Best guide of like not rewarding the same winner over and over. It's I kind of more that idea where it's like this. I think a Restaurant of the Year should be a recognition of a restaurant that's like coming into its own. Like maybe it had like as Holbox has. You know, it has Michelin recognition and James recognition. I don't know. LA Times of the Year recognition now, but like is not like an old standby like Meryl Streep winning her 20th Oscar or whatever.
Yeah.
I think to me it should be somewhat fresh, and that's kind of like a you know it when you see it like criteria.
And they had James Beard Award recognition this year as well. The chef Gilberto Cetina was actually nominated for Best Chef California alongside Justin Pichetrungzi of Anajac. He just didn't win, but he was nominated. So they did get shine there. So look, I think we're on the same page here. Holbox, we get it. It's a great concept, and I'm excited to take you there. I will say it ranked pretty high on my taco countdown, my taco crawl of Los Angeles last year. I think I ranked them third best taqueria in Los Angeles that I had out of 100. So, you know, it's not quite Restaurant of the Year level, but definitely quite high. Now, it's, you know, I think that if they have anything framed on the wall, it's probably the fact that they got the bronze medal on my countdown. Now, the part where this gets a little sticky for me is that the Restaurant of the Year award is awarded alongside another award called the Gold Award, named after the late great Jonathan Gold, of course. And last year, Meals by Jeanette, the very popular and excellent Ethiopian restaurant, won, and this year Parks Barbecue won. Now, when they're describing the award, this is how they describe it. And I got this from an article in which Jonathan Gold's widow actually quoted Jonathan Gold about what this award should mean. And to use Jonathan Gold's words again, he says, it's an award of honoring culinary excellence and expanding the notion of what Southern California cooking might be. The award celebrates intelligence and innovation, brilliance and sensitivity to aesthetics, culture, and the environment. After reading that, I was like, what the hell is the difference between these two awards? They sound so similar.
Well, I agree and disagree with you here. They do sound similar, and the mistake they've made is in the description. And I think based on who they've awarded, Meals by Jeanette and now Parks Barbecue, what the award really seems to be is a Lifetime Achievement Award for LA Restaurant, right? Like Best Year could win in a couple of years, right? Like that, it's almost like, and therefore the idea that this is what LA cuisine might be is incorrect. It's what it's capturing what LA cuisine is, and like the restaurants that have made LA cuisine and defined it, right? And I kind of wish like I like, and also I feel like that's not what the gold award, by the way, should be. The gold award I feel like should be reserved more for if the restaurant of the year is the restaurant of the year with the criteria that Jay Gold himself set out in 2017, and that Bill Addison, as we mentioned, is meeting pretty effectively in his and the LA Times is meeting pretty effectively in its selections the past couple of years. The Gold Award should be reserved for the kind of restaurant Jonathan Gold would have found that no one else would have found or known of. Like I feel like a Love to Eat, right, or a whatever Chengdu Taste, or what was the Thai restaurant he found that he loved so much,
Jitlada.
like Jitlada, right? That's right. Those should be the Gold Award restaurants, and the ones that capture and represent LA and its. I mean, look, also diversity, but maybe just lessen its in their. There is a stature for some of these like restaurant of the year awards. So to be fair, Anna Jack's like pretty small little space up in the valley, but I think that's what I would imagine the Gold Award should be for. What it really seems to be is the Lifetime Achievement Award for an LA restaurant, and what its description is not is not that
Not
also.
that,
So it's a
yeah.
little bit all over the place. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because for the last 2 years, the Gold Award has gone to restaurants that were kind of like Jonathan Gold's greatest hits in terms of restaurants that he just quote unquote either discovered or absolutely loved, or like Meals by Jeanette
Yeah.
is one of his biggest quote unquote success stories. That like it was a restaurant that was started by a mother whose son really believed in her cooking, and he funded everything, and the restaurant opened and was doing really, really poorly despite having excellent food. And the Jay Gold went there, ate there, and the restaurant blew up and, you know, became one of the most successful restaurants in all Los Angeles. So it's one of his like the best sort of case studies of the Jay Gold effect, right? So I agree with you, though. That would be a really interesting direction to take that award. The only thing I would say is that that feels more like a journalism award, you know? Like that should go to a journalist who does that.
Yeah, that's actually good, kind of a good point as well. Like I don't know, like how many more food awards do we fucking need, right? And like I don't know, there's almost something unless this is the Jonathan Gold Greatest Hits Award, which kind of
Yeah.
seems like it's going in the direction. By the way, there have been 6 winners. I'm trying to find the list of all the Gold Award winners. I want to see like maybe Jitlada has already
It
won,
probably
right?
is. It's probably like
Yeah,
Gilada, Mariscos Jalisco, like all of the
yeah,
places.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Uh,
We could
and
probably guess it.
Yeah, we honestly, based on what it is so far, and I don't know if that's really the most interesting way to honor Jay Gold. But I totally actually I think you're totally on point. The Gold Award should go to the writer who's pushing food criticism the farthest, right? Obviously, James Beard has media awards, right? But also, I don't know if they really capture the kind of
I,
essence that Jay Gold captured, right? Like maybe there's no one else doing it in the same way, but I bet you could find people who are like interesting in the same vein and pushing the envelope with writing and food writing in the same way.
I could be wrong. I think that the James Beard Award maybe does have an award that is named after Jonathan Gold. I'm not sure that it's. The
Not this
thing
far.
is, I'm not sure that it's intended to award the kind of journalism we're talking about, but I think it makes sense to have an LA specific award, you know, named after that. There's so many journalists and podcasts, you know, doing incredible work here in Los
You just
Angeles.
want to. So really, we're going in the direction that we want an award named after Jonathan Gold that we can then win, then give to ourselves somehow when they run out of ideas. No, look, I mean, look, I stand by all the thinking. By the way, even if they have the existing award, that just means it's a good fucking idea. Good job by them. But but to like loop back again, like Restaurant of the Year, damn good. Gold Award, let's call it what it is. That's all I
Yeah,
ask. Right? Let's
legacy,
call it what it is.
lifetime
That's fine.
achievement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, look, this award is obviously it's a big moneymaker for the LA Times. They use it to headline their like, you know, end of year events or their like mid-year events. They use it to like host dinners at the restaurants that win and whatnot. And, you know, media is a dying industry as we know, we're a part of it. And it's a moneymaker. But beyond that, what is the value of this award? Something we love to talk about to the restaurants themselves. I mean,
No. There's so much value. Of course, marketing, recognition, pride. Like we again, I think we've been correctly cynical in a lot of ways about food awards, because this is a food podcast, but the process of like awarding whatever artistic, culinary, blah blah blah, cheap and in general. Uh, However, I think we should give more, like there's a reason why there's a pursuit around these things. Well, like when I think about Michelin stars or whatever, right? And I imagine having this kind of recognition expands the footprint of Holbox and its chef, of Anjak and its chef, so much more in a way that's probably deserving. I think as we get closer to feeling like awards are identifying the right kind of restaurants, which I think they're, whether it's James Beard or Michelin, whoever, they since like over the last decade or so, they've been better and better at, and hopefully continue on that path. Then I feel more and more comfortable with the idea of these awards giving chefs and restaurants the notoriety and the recognition that they have earned and deserved. So I stand by all that. Yes, of course, the awards in general are media exercise and bring eyeballs and bring blah blah like to the outlet itself. But there's value to this. I think I'm coming around. I'm coming around on awards a little bit. They are helpful. It's where we look for. It's where we look for ideas when we travel, right? And that's important then, because we're gonna go eat at Holbox. We're gonna go eat at Puyol, right?
Yeah. And also, Anna Jack won last year and then won the James Beard Award this year. It's a valid question. Does Anna Jack win the James Beard Award if it doesn't get the LA Times Restaurant of the Year award first? You know, are these do these awards kind of work like stepping stones, and it's sort of like, you know, the quote unquote corporate ladder of a restaurant's trajectory to success? So I do think that there's value. I think this one has a lot of sentimental value too. I think something about being recognized by the publication of Jonathan Gold, especially if you get the Gold Award, but also if you get the Restaurant of the Year Award, it's just like there's something deeper here. You know, it's like it's not just a Michelin recognition. It's not just a Zagat survey or whatever. You're doing something that matters here. You know, the past winners like Local and whatnot, even though Local wasn't ultimately successful, what it did and what it attempted to do, you know, it mattered. So look, looking at that criteria with this in mind, who else do you think we could be looking at as future winners of the Restaurant of the Year award?
Look, we talked a little bit about Poltergeist earlier. No pressure, Diego. Don't want to push him, but you go through this criteria: sense of purpose, place within community, drive a conversation forward. Let's skip the chef should honor health part a little bit and go straight to it should feel like LA. Poltergeist, which is famously not a pop up, and everyone knows that it's a concept. Sorry, Diego. It like meets a lot of that criteria, man. Like it really does. Literally, the thing we said about it when we finished the crawl was, or when we were reflecting on the crawl, was the difference between that restaurant and a place like some of the other places we'd gone to is that it was only in LA could you eat there. Now, look, it's hard for me to say fully what else should win this award without eating more in LA. I would probably just go through the list of restaurants we ate on our food crawl and be like, all deserving. One's heavy-handed getting its fucking award. But of them, like to me, Poltergeist is the kind of idea, the kind of restaurant, the kind of food that could be deserving, down the line.
And that's one area where timing really matters, right? Like if Poltergeist got Restaurant of the Year award next year, I'd be like, hold your horses, let's see how we go, right? But like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
If they last like 3 years, 4 years, or something like that, you know,
work out some of the kinks on the menu, work out some of the mix and matching, right? No more Pop Rocks, and then we can figure it out. But down the line, yes, exactly.
I have a feeling if anybody can make Pop Rocks work, it's Diego. But you know, I'm surprised that you didn't mention another restaurant, which I know that you've been to. I think that Moosecraft could be a restaurant that gets this very soon.
Great shout. You're exactly right. I should have thought of that.
So the case for Moosecraft is sense of purpose and a place within the community. So, you know, I believe that they're Lincoln Heights or East LA natives, and they brought their excellent product to Lincoln Heights. It's a thing that can only happen in Los Angeles. It's barbecue that has I believe that they describe it as sort of like a Chicano influence, right? So it's like very tied to like yes, obviously there's like roots in Texas barbecue and other places
Yeah.
like that. But in terms of like the things that makes it unique, there's a lot of their personal history in that food as well. Um, I do think they honor diversity, health, sustainability, at least to the best of my knowledge, right? Maybe we're going to get like an expose on how they're like fucking over all their staff someday. Who knows? But until proven guilty, they're innocent, right? And they're definitely driving the conversation forward about like what is good barbecue? Where is good barbecue? Who makes good barbecue? Right. So I think that is, and that's not just in LA, that is beyond, that is in beyond, because
Yeah.
barbecue is a famously insular world, right? It's like a very like regional, like we own this here in this part of the country. We are the ones who
Yeah.
make it. It is authentic if we are making it. But the fact that Moosecraft is doing it and is doing it to such a high caliber, I'd say if there was a, what's the betting site that we're trying to get to sponsor us? FanDuel? Is FanDuel our preferred one?
FanDuel, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there was a FanDuel betting pool, then I'd put my money on Moosecraft.
It's a great shout. I mean, look, the one thing I'll point out that I'm sure there are plenty of barbecues in Texas that have like Chicano influence as well, with the population that have. But your points are all exactly correct. Bloodstone's, I think, was maybe, and there was like what shop or like other barbecues that were in LA as well. Slab is now up there, but Bloodstone's I think really paved the way for great Texas barbecue in LA initially, and Moosecraft is taking that to a different level, with like and in all the ways that you said. So I imagine if they continue on the track, they're also creative, right? They continue to innovate in some ways. They try different things on the menu. They're a really lovely like little spot. I think you're exactly right that is the kind of restaurant that fits basically all the criteria here. So yeah, we'll be excited to see. We'll be excited to see them kind of champion down the line. And then for the gold restaurant of the year, look, I just want Bestia to continue getting its shine. Like Bestia and Babel, yeah, dude, fucking that the chefs behind that work, I think have achieved some of the most impressive stuff. To be that consistently good over time. I know Bestia wasn't like, I don't think it was a like big gold like champion finding or whatever. But in terms of a restaurant that came into the arts district in LA, right? And was maybe the first to plant a flag in capturing that neighborhood, redefining what it meant to be there and what could be successful, and then being successful for over a decade now, right? Like really, really impressive. And I want them to get their flowers for what they've achieved.
The betting odds on the FanDuel betting odds on the Gold Award are a lot sort of like
Yes, 2000.
yeah, they're lower reward because you can just go to Jonathan Gold's like past reviews and pretty much guarantee that it's going to be one of those restaurants, right? So it's a bit more of a limited pool. I think again, I can't really speak to this as I don't know who has received it like in the past, but I think we're probably going to see a lot more park style places, right? Some of the more like older school like places that have been doing it for a much, like Coney Seafood. It's actually, I think Coney Seafood won last year.
2021 was Go Like Getza, dude.
Yeah. So
like it's gonna be the old standbys.
Yeah. So look, I think they just need to rebrand it, the Gold like Lifetime Achievement Award or something. But I think these are really meaningful awards, man. And I flowers to Holbox. We can't wait to come visit you, and flowers to Parks. Have you been to Parks?
I don't think I actually have been to Parks. I've spent so much time in Koreatown recently. Haven't been to Parks. The one thing I wanted to say real quick on the awards thing, and first of all, you just know that you're buying the tasting menu at Holbox, just so in case that wasn't clear. I'm getting a money's worth for this award, for this prize. I think I like the regional award of the LA Times more than these national and international awards a little bit. I think it's really notable that the LA Times and with John Gold, whatever, are able to set criteria specific to the place. I think that is I think a more important criteria than who is doing the best fine dining tasting menu on the world's best 50. And I love to read up like what the Seattle Times criteria is for their restaurants of the year, and kind of like track down those winners, because I think that regional and local perspective makes the award special when it comes from a local media outlet, versus like the ones that are coming in on a little bit more on high and not as familiar. I mean, sure, panelists come from different places and are like from the regions, but I think it makes it feel more grounded and more representative of the place itself.
And also, it's read by the people who actually live here, so
Actually,
they're more likely to go visit it than like we are to go like fly to
Tokyo.
Quito and go to like the
Yeah.
number 7 restaurant on the world's 50 best, right? So yeah, I think it's just a little bit more. I don't know. Definitely, this one resonates. So
We got to talk about what the LA Food Pod Awards look like. We got to come up with some criteria. I want to, it's funny. We started this being like awards are meaningless and they fucking suck. Who chooses them? What do they mean? And now I'm literally like, let's get out some awards, baby. Let's do it right.
Yeah,
This time.
we're gonna give the Diego Argotti Award for craziest story goes to Diego Argotti. And I think we got to do some sort of awards. We've been talking about doing a Hall of Fame,
Yep.
like pyramid style, kind of like the way that Bill Simmons does his like Book of Basketball Hall of Fame.
We're gonna get sued by Bill at some point. we gotta branch out a little.
we're gonna get bought out by Bill. Bill, we're here. Trust me, a Zoom call with us, Bill, will be a lot different than a Zoom call with Prince Harry. We got ideas, bro. We got ideas. Father Saul, you have a homework assignment. You got to go watch The Bear, okay? Because we're going to be reviewing it in the next couple weeks, okay?
I'm excited. Season 2 already getting great reviews. I need to catch up, but I can't wait to talk about it, man.
Hey, good job by you. You get the award for best co-host today.
Poltergeist is not a pop-up, everybody. Don't forget it.
Thanks, Father Saul. We'll be right back with Brian Lerner. I am stoked today to have friend of the pod, friend of the LA Countdown, join us. It's Brian Lerner of Brian Eats. Brian, how you doing today?
I am great. It's great to see you and stoked to be here with you. So, chatting about food, things we both like.
Our favorite things. For a little bit of context, dear listener, Brian, his handle, Brian Eats, both on Instagram and TikTok, right? A little bit of background on Brian. He was a long time Angelino, did most of his eating down here in LA, but late last year, you moved to San Jose?
We've been up here for just a year. Yeah, just about a year, San Jose area.
Okay. The reason we're having Brian on today is LA is great, but sometimes Angelinos leave LA. Sometimes, they go on trips, they go visit family. And so we think it's really important to, give our listeners a bit of a handle on what else is happening around this golden state of ours. But before we dive into what's hot in San Jose, Brian, I got to ask, do you miss LA?
I miss LA a ton. I miss the food a lot. Just the culture, right? Like, I don't know, if you live in LA and you get to be a part of it, there's just so many cool little pockets and just amazing things happening. Not that that doesn't happen elsewhere, but I lived there for most of my life, and just I've also lived other places, and I kept coming back. So we'll see what happens in the future. But it's also nice for a change, and LA also involves a lot of chaos. So sometimes if you want some peace, it's okay to be somewhere else too.
Yeah. That is so true. But you stay repping LA. Listener, you can't see this, but he is rocking the Danny Boy's famous original LA hat, the one with like the pizza instead of the A. So you're still doing your job of spreading the good LA word.
Yeah, I get made fun of wearing my Dodgers hats. Lifelong Dodgers fan, by the way. Up here in the Bay Area, they don't take too kindly to that. But you still got to rep your town. And people wear SF stuff in LA, and we don't really give them a hard time. So
no, but we do give them a bit of side eye. At least I do. What do you miss? To start off with an emotional question, what do you miss most about the food here in LA?
Oh man, I mean, I could put it in a single word, and it's the tacos. For sure. There's a lot of Mexican and Hispanic and Latinx food up in the Bay Area too. Not to say that it doesn't exist here, because it exists all over California and all over the United States. But in everywhere that I've been, everywhere that I've eaten and traveled to, there, in my opinion, there's two taco towns in this world. that I've experienced, and that's Mexico City and Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't been everywhere, right? There's definitely more places to go, but it's just part of the LA culture, is the tacos. And of course, I've got other favorite spots. I lived on in the Sawtelle neighborhood, and I really loved Sawtelle. And there's other just like even amazing areas like the Arts District, Chinatown. Like there's so many little pockets of like good food all over the city, and I only touched on a few of them. So if I didn't mention yours, like don't hate, I've eaten at all of them, but yeah, I just miss the tacos the most, and just being able to like readily get good tacos anywhere.
Yeah, that's the key, right? I'm sure there are good taco spots in San Jose and surrounding areas, but the just sheer availability of them down here. I mean, I remember I did the taco crawl in 2022 where I ate at 100 different taquerias in 365 days. And I remember thinking at the time, this is going to be a pretty east side, East LA, South LA centric crawl. And then Brian comes along and is like, "Nuh-uh, there's a spot over here in West LA you got to check out. It's called Brothers Cousins." And you know what? Probably top 20 tacos I had last year.
I'm glad to hear that it was one of your favorites. That was a super fun way for us to meet and enjoy some tacos together. And yeah, like it's really all over like LA there. I mean, East Side definitely is heavy on the tacos. Don't get me wrong. Like that's where you'll find the best of the best. But yeah, Brothers Cousins, great. Uh, there's a place called Sonora Town just down the street that,
Oh
is a little
yeah.
more like upscale tacos, and they're really solid. There's other places, in the West Side, in the South Bay, and in the Valley, right? Like it's just, I think because there's so much competition, it's like so embedded in the culture that like even like just you could drive by any taco truck or any like street taco place and be like, this is probably going to be good, you
Yeah.
know?
Or at least passable,
Um,
right?
yeah. And by the way, Brothers Cousin, I just saw they've been like a little under the radar, even though there's always a line. They've been there for like 7 or 8 years, I think. There's always a line on the street. And I just saw they made a top 20 list of like the infatuation or something. I was like, oh, they finally got repped on a best of list. So
Yo,
shout out to them.
I'm not going to say it, but I think you deserve some credit for that, my man.
I'm always a supporter. Try to get on the ground level, right? So you can say that you were there
Yes.
day one.
100%. Okay, so you miss tacos. You're sort of famous for your adoration of fried chicken and hot chicken, stemming back to your, time living in Nashville, if I'm not wrong about that.
Good memory.
What is the hot chicken you miss the most from Los Angeles? And have you found any good ones up there?
Well, I mean, the best hot chicken in Los Angeles and possibly maybe anywhere is Howlin' Ray's. And again,
Whoa.
talk about being there from day one, right? I did used to live in Nashville in the early 2000s, and that's where obviously Nashville hot chicken is from. At the time, I think there was 2 or 3 spots that served it in the early 2000s. Prince's, the original, Bolton's, and some of the old school spots. And I just liked hot chicken. And when I left Nashville, it was never to be heard from again. It's a place that does food that didn't exist outside Nashville, and I give Johnny Ray's down in the Howland crew credit because he brought it to LA, and that's what really got it kind of spreading out to other places. Everyone just started copying Howland Ray's,
Yeah.
and
Dave,
they've continued to innovate, opening the second location. Right, and it's just as good as it was on day one. But like they took all their original chefs to Nashville, made them study it, right? Like, and they pay
wow.
homage to it while putting their own spin. So I have massive respect for Howland. And to answer your second part of your question, I have not found great hot chicken up here yet.
Yet. Keyword being yet. It's only a matter of time before Dave's opens there, right?
Oh, there is Dave's here. They do have Dave's. I went to Dave's up here. I hope Dave does not listen to this, or Dave's crew. I've gotten into many of verbal arguments about why Dave's hot chicken should be called Dave's spicy tenders, because I don't believe it
Ooh.
tastes like Nashville hot chicken. It's not that it's bad. It's good. They just have chicken tenders and sliders, and it's like sauce, and it's just a different thing, right? It's not like, to me, it's not Nashville
Yeah.
hot chicken. It doesn't taste like I'm in Nashville. Doesn't mean it doesn't taste good. Um, but I've gotten to many arguments with people about how Dave's is not great, and they should go to like Howlin' or like Hot Fill or Main Chick or one of these places that I think does it way better. And but I did go to Dave's up here, and I was humbled a little bit. Like, you know what? Like, in a world where I don't have access to Howlin' Ray's or Nashville, like Dave's does taste pretty good. But I will still contend that it's not really Nashville. And they call it Dave's Hot Chicken, not Nashville Hot Chicken. So I'll
Yeah.
give them that.
I was absolutely flabbergasted to learn that I think there are 100 Dave's Hot Chickens out there to this day. And that
Didn't someone famous like get in on like, I'm so out of it, like pop culture. I'm really bad at pop culture, but somebody famous like got in and started like investing and franchising it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And by next year, I think they're going to have like 500. So, I
Well,
mean,
wow.
yeah, they're doing something that people like clearly. But yeah, to your point, it just doesn't hit the same probably because it's just a different recipe, right? You go
Yeah.
there expecting hot chicken and it's to your point, just like kind of spicy fried chicken.
And I will okay, it's Drake. I had to look it up. It's Drake and Samuel L. Jackson are investors in Dave's Hot Chicken. So there you go.
That's huge.
Yeah, so you got some big players there. And I'm sure, they're smart business people. They got a lot more money than me, so who am I to talk? But
Yeah.
I think this is an unpopular opinion, hot take maybe, like I don't think like hot chicken doesn't need like what they call like the comeback sauce or whatever, sauce. Like, I mean, chicken sandwich, people love sauce on it, but like, I just want to taste like the great chicken. And so that's for me, like the slider dripping with sauce and coleslaw, like isn't my flavor. I just want some really good, like hot chicken on a bone.
Dude, you are a purist because I went to Hal and Ray's, I think it was like January. So it's been a couple months now, but I had their chicken sando and I absolutely loved the pairing of slaw and comeback sauce because obviously it lets you get it a little bit hotter, at least for me, because the creaminess of those ingredients tempers the sort of spice, right? And I just like the flavor of it. But you clearly approach hot chicken like it's sashimi or something.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and I think that's a funny comparison. But I mean, the sando there is great. Like it's legendary. If
Yeah.
you want a chicken sandwich, like so some people just prefer a sandwich, and that's great. I hope they enjoy it. I don't want anyone to like not enjoy something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, enough about LA. Let's get into San Jose. Okay. So I want to
Okay.
hear, what are some of your favorite bites that you've had up there? Things that if I'm an Angelino, I'm going up to San Jose to visit my aunt or for a business trip and I'm there for 24 to 48 hours. What are the places that Brian Eats says you should definitely go check the spot out?
I did find one amazing taco truck that really like got me, and I was like, this place is awesome. I've been there a few times, and it's consistently good. And so, I think if you're doing the California trip, like you might as well try some tacos, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so this place is called Pre-Hispanic Mexican Cuisine. Whenever I tell people about it, they're like, "Okay, what's it called?" I'm like, "No, it's really called Pre-Hispanic Mexican Cuisine." And it is a truck, and he focused on flavors from like the Yucatan, and flavors that existed in Mexico when cooking before Hispanic, from people from Spain arrived. So lots of like anchiote and like a salsa negra and things like that. And yeah, it's really good. So you gotta check that out. And I just saw that you recently, on your quest for all the 100 sandwiches, went to Philippe's.
Yeah.
Did you go to Kohl's too? I can't remember.
I will be going to Kohl's. I was initially going to do them in the same episode, but I figured, let's give each one their own flowers. So yeah, I went to Philippe's. And for listeners who don't know, Philippe's is legendary French dip place downtown, kind of like near Chinatown.
In the Philippe's Kohl's debate, I will side with Philippe's as far as what I like. But there's a place up here in a town called Sunnyvale, which is in the San Jose area, Silicon Valley, whatever you want to call it. Adamson's French dip. It's a little pricier than Philippe's or Kohl's, but it is like premium. Like you can get it with top sirloin or prime rib, and the beef is all smoked in house, so it's got a much smokier flavor. The bread is all fresh baked, so like when you walk in, like you smell the bread baking. They do their own homemade root beer in like a frosted mug, and the place is probably the size of the room that I'm in right now, with a few outdoor tables, and they're only open from like 11 to 3 every day.
Wow. Is it like a newfangled spot? Like kind of like they're like,
well, the guy's been there for a while. I can't remember when he opened. Like, it's not like brand new, but it's a little more like, it's more new school than Philippe's or Kohl's for sure. It's like that old.
Yeah.
maybe since like, the last like 20 years. But the owner is really cool. He's always there. If you start chatting with him, he'll tell you like the prime rib is most popular because it says prime rib, but the top sirloin is actually the like more flavorful cut. You should get that. Like he'll guide you on what to order. They have
That's
other
cool.
things too. They have great fries. And yeah, it's a little bit pricey, but like it puts those two LA legends like to shame as far as flavor on
Wow.
French dip. And it's the
That's
most like plain, simple thing. It's like meat and bread, and you can get like horseradish if you want, but like I love when something is really simple and doesn't need a lot of like condiments or things to make it good.
accoutrements. Yeah. No, those are some
Yeah,
fighting words too, because like it's not like you just took aim at like Dave's Hot Chicken. You took aim at like two LA institutions here and said
and I
this
like
place
those
is
two
better.
places. I'm not talking trash on them. This place just is like another level of good.
That's good, man. Well,
Um,
now that I
yeah.
know, that's going to the top of my list for next time I'm in San Jose or Sunnyvale area.
One other place. Well, there's two other places that I think these are all like such like casual spots too. I haven't really found like a great like sit down restaurant, but there's
It's
a
all
place
good.
called Slice of Homage Pizza. That's Homage. Slice of Homage is the best pizza I've had up here. They started off doing like Detroit and Sicilian styles, like that, pan pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say it can hang with the best of them. And for all you New York people, I know you think LA can't do pizza. LA can do pizza.
When you say hang with the best of them, who are we talking about the best of them in LA? I want to hear Brian's take on pizza.
For like a pan pie, like I think Apollonia's, is just killer for that pan pizza.
Oh
That's
yeah.
my favorite, like one. And then I do love Danny Boy's. I'm wearing the Danny Boy's hat, like in that New York style. And there used to be this amazing place called Slice Truck, which has been closed since I don't know, like 2019 or something. But Slice Truck, if you check this out, I know he follows me on Instagram. I know occasionally he gets on there. He's a salty dude who just loves pizza, and he just could not
The slice
make
truck
enough
guy
money to
follows
keep it
you?
open. I don't know. He follows Brian. He's like on and off social media. Occasionally I'll just get like Slice Truck liked your thing, and I'm like, yes, Slice Truck is still
Oh,
there.
nice. Does he wait? And when you say
Yeah.
salty, does he like complain at you or what?
No. He's like a salt. Like you walk in the pizza shop and you feel like you're kind of like in New York. Like he's just like a
Oh, that's cool. He's got sort of that edge
yeah.
about him. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like I went in there one time. My dad, I wanted to pick up pizza for my dad, and he also had really great. He called it the grandma slice, is what he had, and it was phenomenal. Um, but when you'd walk in there, I'd be like, oh, my dad like has like a sensitivity to like too much garlic, and he's like, then your dad shouldn't eat my pizza. Like
yeah.
he's like that kind of dude. I'm like, all right,
I
I'll get him
love
something
that.
different.
Can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen kind of guy.
Yeah, but I mean, his shop's not there anymore, but it was amazing pizza, and I feel like I'm leaving an LA place out that has great pan pizza, and I'm spacing, and I can't. I feel really bad.
Damn,
Oh
you leave. I
no,
was
no,
gonna say
it's
you
the
leave
new
LA.
spot. No, it's the new spot that just opened recently. That used to be a food truck. It used to be called Bootleg. Now it's Little Dynamite.
Yeah, way to
And I,
go.
I haven't been to his new shop, Little Dynamite, yet. But Bootleg Pizza, which used to be like a trailer in a parking lot in the pandemic, like was I think my favorite pan pizza ever. So this place in San Jose can hang with all of them. It's just as good, and that makes me happy. And they just recently started selling their New York slices or their New York pies as well, and I got that, and it was also really good. So there is a good pizza spot up here. You gotta have a dessert spot, right?
Of course, you got to. The
So
only way to follow up a French dip pizza taco run is to have a little sweet tooth, right?
yeah, so over by Santa Clara University, which I guess makes it a college town. I don't really know. It's not like being in Westwood or something, but whatever. Uh, they got a place called Rocco's Ice Cream Tacos. Yeah, it's about the same size.
Yeah.
It was basically
Okay.
they basically just make a waffle cone into a curve and dip it in chocolate. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah. I
seems
could.
like the stupidest thing, but it's so good.
Oh, I mean, it is funny when like someone just takes ingredients everybody knows and just repackages them in a new way to consume it that just like transcends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like if you do like a waffle cone and you dip it, right? Like the toppings are always just on top of the ice cream. So it's
Yeah.
like you eat the toppings and like the chocolate dipping first, but it's on a taco, like you get the whole.
Yeah. It's actually
It's
genius.
also like, yeah, and it's also like they put like in like some nitro freeze or something. So it's like it gets really, I don't know. The way they do it, it's cool.
And you get places to drink up there.
I'm not much of a drinker, to be honest. So I
That's
haven't really gone out exploring.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I just imagined that like the like Silicon Valley bros need watering holes, that would have been my guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a wine thing up here. Like everyone has to have like a fancy wine list. So
That makes sense. Well, you're relatively close to wine country, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of money to blow.
yeah, I guess so. I'm not one of them, but yeah, wine is everywhere. And yeah, you can go up to Napa. And like I mean, it's also like what's interesting about this area is like it's really spread out, right? So like the
Yeah.
Silicon Valley area, it's like but you can drive everywhere in like 15 or 20 minutes. But if you want to go to San Francisco or Oakland, it's like 45 or 50 minutes. And sometimes it just seems so far. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I have to drive all the way to Oakland if I want to eat this food. I want to go all the way to San Francisco if I want to eat this food, which I do fairly often, to be honest. But the thing that's like wild is like in LA, you'd be like, oh, it's an hour, whatever. We'll just go there and it's only 6 miles away.
100%.
Here, it's an hour away.
I'm easily driving an hour tonight for dinner. Like that's just the way it goes. Like rush hour.
I think you drove an hour to get tacos with me on the west side. You were like, oh God, you're on the west side. I have to drive an hour.
100%. I think I drove like an hour 15 just to get tacos with you, and it was like whatever, throw on a podcast, throw on some music, you're there. That's just LA for you. But yeah, I think there's a lot.
And here it's just like drive an hour, but it's actually 50 miles away, so it's like it just feels so much farther.
It does. Yeah, I don't know. There is just something that screams inconvenience about that. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. But I also think that's the reason why I think San Jose and these like, Silicon Valley towns actually are getting a lot of good restaurants is because, they've attracted so many people there because of the companies that are there, and folks don't want to do that commute anymore to go all the way to San Francisco just to get good food. So they need stuff readily available.
Yeah, there is also a massive like amount of Asian food in this area.
Yeah.
And when I say Asian food, like South Asian, East Asian, like, all of it. And some of it is a little intimidating because it's kind of like going to like SGV, where like sometimes I walk into spaces, I'm like the only white person there. And sometimes like people are very like welcoming and they like want to help you. And sometimes they're very much like, they won't like help you order. So like, what do I order at this like Chinese noodle house where I can't read anything on the menu, So like, I'm definitely looking for some friends who might be able to come, go with me and help me order because, definitely love all the Asian cuisines. I haven't had great soup dumplings yet, although I've been to a couple soup dumpling places. It's funny because everyone up here is like loving Din Tai Fung, and I'm like, come on. There's definitely better. Let's just go find it.
Yeah, we've been there, done that. Absolutely. I don't think people realize that like San Jose is one of the largest cities in California. It's like top 5, right?
Yeah, and I think it's like in the top 10 in the country, like city-wise. Like it's bigger than cities that you like know and think of all the time.
Yeah, like way bigger than San Francisco. But bigger
population wise, yeah,
population well, also
and size, I guess, probably
square footage, right? Yeah, but like way bigger than I think, like other places that would have an eater, like Austin or something like that. I think San Jose is up there.
Yeah, I mean, like okay, so San Jose population is like 1.8 million for the San Jose like metro area, which would be Silicon Valley. So I mean, 1.8 million seems pretty big.
That's big. I mean, that's like, that's a major city. So I feel like there needs to be
as big as the Valley.
As big as the Valley. Yeah. Talk about a place that doesn't get enough love in the media as well, though. So what is the first thing you're going to go get when you come back to LA? Is it tacos?
I've been back a few times, and I was back a few weeks, actually like 2 weeks ago, just doing some family stuff. And I hit up 2 spots. I wanted to take my parents somewhere fun, and they live in the Valley, and so I took them to the new food hall in Topanga.
Oh, nice! I hear that's excellent.
Topanga Social, yeah, it was pretty good, right? They have like some local places. We got burgers from Amboy, which has like a, Amboy. They only do the Amboy Smash Burger, which I wish they had like the bigger Amboy Burger. I like that, but they've got some places like that. They have a Wanderlust Creamery in there, and some other like LA staples. With that was a lot of fun just to go, and my parents were like blown away by, wow, this is so cool. My dad's mind was blown that I could pay with my Apple Watch on the iPad that you order on. But So that was fun. And then I did go to Brothers Cousins Tacos because I just got to go. I got to go get a
Gotta
taco
get
from
your
Brothers
fix,
Cousins.
bro. Yeah. I was saying Topanga
Go
Social is a
ahead.
really interesting one because like mini kebab, Amboy, there's like, isn't there a hot chicken place also that's in there as well?
It's called Jay's. I've never had it. Slab is coming soon, and if you haven't had Slab barbecue, like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Excellent
Get
place.
Slab
Yeah.
barbecue. Speaking of barbecue, we got to come back to that. Put a pin in barbecue. But the last time I was in LA before that, I made sure I hit up one place, which was Howlin' Ray's, of course, and I wanted
Of
to go to the
course.
new Pasadena location, which I hadn't been to yet, and was just like kid in the candy store, like walking in, and it was just so good to see all the guys, and yeah.
Wow. So you like know Howland. You're like part of the family there.
I mean, like, let's be honest. If you've gone to Howlin', like, they kind of make everybody feel like that,
Yeah.
right? Like, you walk in, like, they are. If you bring out your camera, like, they're yelling at the camera, like, they make everybody feel like we're their best friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think that's part of the reason why they became so popular. It's not just the food being great. Like, when you went to Howlin', you had like an experience. Um, so I mean, like, we're not best friends, but like I've seen them enough times where like we know each other by first name, which is cool.
That's great. I
So
love when that happens.
yeah.
Hey, let's close on barbecue. What are you? I mean, you're a huge barbecue guy. You found any good barbecue up there?
So I will say there is an awesome barbecue spot. It's in Oakland.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and it is definitely like top tier level. It's called Horn Barbecue.
Uh
And
huh.
it's no secret. The chef I found out because he's been featured in all kinds of barbecue magazines. But I love a good local success story, and the chef is from Oakland, and wanted to like elevate the Oakland culinary scene. Right, like he's a black pit master, and he's just bringing attention to that into his community. And the barbecue there is elite. Really good barbecue. Like, you go, there's like a line down the block when they open on Sundays.
Texas style,
You know,
Memphis.
he he does probably Texas. He does brisket, but he also has some ribs and pulled pork. So he's like, a good California barbecue spot's always got a mix, right?
Mix. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's California, but yeah, it's really solid barbecue. And he also opened up a fried chicken spot called Cowbird,
Hmm.
which is spelled with a K, Kow Bird. It's also in Oakland. I went there a few weeks ago. I was like craving chicken tenders, and I was like, I'm gonna go check out Matt Horn's chicken spot. The tenders were also good. His mom was there working the counter on a Sunday. So if you're up in the Bay Area and you're looking for barbecue, Horn Barbecue is a spot. I've been to a few other spots, and they were weak at best.
And what is the barbecue you miss the most down here?
I know this is not the most popular spot now because I know Moose is awesome and Slab is super good. There's great places at, what do you call it? At Smorgasburg, there's great barbecue. But when Maple Block
Yeah.
first opened, there wasn't a lot of like craft barbecue or like Texas style barbecue in LA that was doing it like the right way, in my opinion, like real smoked. And Maple Block is still there, and it's been consistently good. I know it doesn't get the hype that the other newer spots get, but I've always loved Maple Block.
Nothing wrong with Maple Block, man. Honestly, I think the Maple Block's biggest downfall is that it's not the other places. You know what I mean? It's just the other places are so good and also new and kind of shinier. But like, Maple Block, nothing wrong with it, and a very, very solid barbecue joint. Same kind of goes for Bloodsoes. Like Bloodsoes was the be all end all. Like before all these places opened, and it still
Yeah.
slaps. It's just not as like new and sexy as Moosecraft.
Yeah, and check out, Kevin Bloodsoe on Netflix, the Barbecue Showdown. Like,
Yeah,
rep, repping a famous LA chef, right? That always feels great.
it does. And he just won a James Beard Award too. So, flowers to our boy Kevin. Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Thanks for giving our listeners a little taste of Silicon Valley and San Jose. And next time you're in town, please hit me up. And I can't wait to come visit you in San Jose and do a little food crawl of our own.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love to see you, and I'll definitely let you know I'm in LA, and you can take me to get a sandwich.
Hell yeah. What sandwich are we going to?
I mean, dealer's choice, right? Like, you're the sandwich guy now. So
I am. I don't know, man. It's tough sometimes to just keep coming up with the next place to go to. I was hoping you'd have an answer for me, but I'll definitely show you
let's
some
go
of
to
the
the
new.
Oinkster. Yeah, you haven't been to
Oh,
the Oinkster yet.
I haven't, and I'm not too far from the OG one in Eagle Rock. So
I haven't been there in a long time, so I'm not gonna like hype it up. But I remember the Youngster was like pretty elite when it first opened. Another like another like trendsetter with like high end fast food
yes,
or like
yes.
like
So like
chef driven fast food.
chef-driven burger, pastrami. Yeah, that was that was again all the
Ooh,
rage.
pastrami
2012.
burger.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Pastrami burgers next time
All
you're in
right.
town.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to Father Saul as always. Thanks to our guest Brian Lerner. If you like what you heard today, dear listener, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a rating, a star, subscribe, maybe just write a review if you should be so inclined. We'll be back next week. And if you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok and on Instagram at the LA Countdown. That's TheLACOUntdown. You could also find us on Instagram at LA Food Pod. That's LAFOODPOD.